I'm starting to put a few clips together for this little video, but I thought you might be interested in seeing this. I know there was a lot of interest when I first posted it. This is the results from the grape tomato that I cut up into several slices and just laid on top of the soil. It certainly did germinate. It's amazing. It was slower than the tomatoes that I planted from seed. They've already been potted on into larger individual pots. This will be potted on in a few minutes here today. But they just kept coming, more and more and more all the time. So interesting thing now to see will be what on earth it might look like when it actually produces a tomato. I'm sure the tomato variety is at least an F1 hybrid, and it won't come true to seed, I don't think anyway, but something similar, hopefully a small grape-sized tomato would be appreciated. Well, I just finished doing all of my seeding. Everything has at least been sown. What you're looking at is all the pots that I've just potted up this morning with mostly squash and cucumber, pumpkin, I guess. And that isn't everything. I've put some out in the unheated greenhouse, so I'll take you out and show you that shortly. And you're probably wondering, well, he hasn't got any of that labeled. That would be typical of me, if you can read that or not. But I bought a little labeler, not very expensive at all, and it prints whatever you want to print on a small label. And the adhesive on it is very good. I've never had it come off, so I'm not using the little white stakes in each pot anymore. I have a lot of them, by the way. I buy these pots on Amazon, 100 at a time, made in China, and they come with 100 plant labels. So I've got at least 200 plant labels that I'm not using. And this is the lower level. Off to the left here are all of my tomato varieties that I grew from seed, just two varieties. Manitoba, which is a determinate variety, and Gardener's Sweetheart, which is a cherry tomato, and it's indeterminate. And next in the middle there are the grape tomatoes that I just transplanted. I transplant into dry potting mix, and right now they're sitting in water, if you can see any reflection there. It soaks up into the soil and wets it down that way rather than top watering them. Find that works better. And off to the right are my jalapeno peppers, which are doing very, very well. I don't know, it gets a little bit warmer. I'll move those out to the greenhouse, I guess, but they don't like chilly nights, so we won't do that just yet. Well, before we go in the greenhouse, I have to show you my largest patch of daffodils. This is their second spring, so they are multiplying a bit, but there was a lot of bulbs planted there. And there are early, mid-season, and late-season bulbs, so you see some things that haven't really bloomed out yet. Those are the late-season ones. It is beautiful. I love daffodils. Now they remind me of a dear friend, a work colleague who died a couple of years ago, cancer. She absolutely loved her daffodils. She worked in a different office than I worked in, but every time she picked a new bouquet, I would get an email with a photo of her daffodils. So these are sort of Wendy's daffodil patch, I guess. We had what for us is a very mild winter. I mean, nothing tropical, but I only had to have my driveway plowed once all winter. We had very little snow, but we had some terrific wind. The first one was before Christmas, a windstorm that tore down hundreds of trees here on the island. I lost several on my property. I haven't even gone to see how many. My property's 8.5 acres, and I haven't walked down in to see how bad it is, but around the area here I lost a lot. And one big fir tree came down, and the top of it went through my greenhouse. I had some greenhouse repair tape, and I have repaired the rip. I'm not really worried about air or getting out or in or water getting in or whatever. I just taped it up because I don't want the hole to spread and get any larger. In the summertime, I leave the door open all day anyway for ventilation because it gets so hot in there. If you remember the two mystery plants from my last video, they came up in the flat of onions and shallots that I was growing. So it came out of one of those seed packets, I don't know which. Anyway, they were taking up so much room in the house, I brought them out and put them in the raised beds in the greenhouse. Let them go until I figure out what they are. It looks like something that you might eat the leaves, like I don't know, collards or something like that, but it isn't. They're a fuzzy leaf like you get with squash or something. So let them go until I can decide what on earth I've got growing, I guess. I have two of these trays that I brought out to do their germinating out here. If I can remember what's in them. Armenian yard-long cucumbers. A gift from Sandra. Thank you very much, Sandra. Very strange looking thing on the seed packet. I have to grow them just to see what they look like. And then I've also got, I don't know quite now what I brought out here, but 3 or 4 different varieties anyway that there wasn't any space for. And of course, a lot of it is my corn. I'm going to grow corn again this year, or try to anyway, and it's a sweet corn. Variety is peaches and cream. So I think I started 2 dozen of those, and I'll show you where they're going to go shortly. I've been enjoying the Asian chives. I think, as I said in the last video, they taste like any other chive. They're a nice sort of onion flavor, but the stems are much larger than on the conventional one that we just call chives. And I like them very much. I chop them up and have them in omelets in particular. I decided to keep the few carrots that overwintered. I'm sure they will bolt and flower and produce seeds. So I'm going to let that happen. And actually, I guess I even see 1 or 2 more that have come up there that weren't out the last time I was out here. Well, now I'll take you back up outside of the house and show you why this video is called a work in progress. Well, this is my work in progress. I'll take you in and show you some closer glimpses of what's actually happening here. Right now, you can probably see a lot of cardboard. All of the 2 raised beds and the containers and whatever are all on cardboard to prevent weeds from coming up through, mostly stinging nettles. My property's been taken over by nettles. But I have a friend who works in the landscape industry here. And as I said, with all those trees that blew down last winter, literally probably several thousand of them here on the island, it was a horrific storm. He is still cleaning up on people's property, and he has a chipper. So I have ordered at least 1 truckload of chips, wood chips. I will certainly surround everything here with them, make it look much neater and tidier with the cardboard covered up with chips. And then I will also take enough out to the greenhouse to put in the aisle down the middle and around the raised beds out there. So if 1 truckload doesn't do it, I'll order a second one, I guess. Let's have a little look closer on what's happening here. Well, I bought 2 raised beds. This one is, I think, 3 feet wide, 8 feet long, and 1 foot deep. And as you can see, I transplanted my onions and shallots into it 2 or 3 days ago, and they're surviving. We're not in any danger of frost again, according to the long-range forecast, so they will be all right. I'll show you the second. You saw the taller silver-colored one. My plan was to fill that big one and grow potatoes in it. Well, I had this bed set up in a different location on cardboard before I filled it up with compost. And I decided I wanted to move it. So I moved it here, and when I lifted the cardboard, there was a regular roadway of moles and voles underneath of it, which is what I was trying to do. I was going to grow potatoes. I can't grow them out the garden out by the greenhouse because the moles and the voles chew on almost every one of them. When I go to dig them up, I get practically nothing. So I now have my potatoes are going to be grown in containers, and I've put soil in the tall one. I'm only filling it half full, but I'll grow crops in it as well, but not potatoes, I guess. In the foreground here are my Liberation tulips. Lots of buds. They're going to be quite showy. They always have been quite showy, but they're continuing to multiply. It's wonderful. Liberation, if you haven't heard me explain about them before, they were issued to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the Canadian Army liberating the Netherlands at the end of World War II. And I just realized that they've been in the ground for 4 years. They once again are advertising Liberation tulips. I presume it's the same one for next year, which will be the 80th anniversary. And you can see a lot of the containers in the background there. Potatoes, peas are up. I'll show you those in a second. And I don't know, I guess that's about, well, no, I have some radishes that are up, and I also have one container that has got poppies in it. I had the free package of seeds from Annapolis Seeds. I always get a free package. This year it was the red European poppy. Well, this is the raised bed that was going to be for potatoes, but it isn't. I had a lot of well-aged compost out of my hen houses that I had not used. So this has got about, 8-10 inches of it, and then covered up with bottom compost on top. And the one with the onions is really full of my own compost with just an inch or two of the bottom compost over the top to try to hold the weeds down, because my own compost has got a lot of weed seeds in it. This has been partially planted, the half of it closest to the camera here. I've got 3 short rows of beets and 3 short rows of carrots. The carrots are called Napoli, I think, and or at least the one variety is called Napoli. They're a pelletized seed that I've used for several years, so I'm wondering how successful they'll be this year, if they'll still germinate or not. But again, Sandra gave me a lovely package of yellow carrots, so I sprinkled those in as well. And in with the carrots, I always put a few radish seeds. Radish will germinate before the carrots do, but they'll crack open the soil coming up through, and it makes it easier for the radish to get up. And the far end of it is going to be planted with my sweet corn. This is another experiment, something that I saw, years ago. I've seen clips on YouTube about it. When my potting mix and all of my organic compost and whatever was delivered, the man who unloaded it off the truck offered me the pallet if I wanted it. And I just thought for a minute and said, yes, it's something I always wanted to try. So I have filled the pallet with the bottom compost, organic compost, and yesterday I seeded it with a lettuce blend from Rainbow Seeds here in New Brunswick, a New Brunswick seed company. It's called their Gourmet Lettuce Blend. It's got, I don't know how many different kinds of lettuce in it. So if my hens and the guinea fowl don't consider it a treat, I might get some lettuce out of it. Well, that concludes this little video, but I just wanted to show you this row of pots here, containers. Those will each have squash and pumpkins in them. 2 kinds of squash, winter squash, and one kind of a pie pumpkin, and the 2 cloth ones, if you can see those closer to me, those will have zucchinis in. So that finishes this little video. Thank you very much for watching.